My hat! I just got this Arrma Nero Nero from a friend. Actually lives pretty close. So it's pretty cool. His servo went out, so I need to replace the servo, but I went ahead and bartered from him, and I'm going to do some small little teardown videos for this this year. So if you want to follow him in Instagram, so this is his Instagram, at AP1Eddie. So this year, this is a very nice truck. Arrma discontinued this model. I mean, it came with good transmitter for what it is. Later on, maybe you want to upgrade to something, but to be honest, it works fine. But this year, this used to be in its day when it came out the competition for, I guess I would say, the Traxxas Servo. But to be honest, it wasn't much of a contest because this was leaps and bounds ahead of it. If the shock assembly, for example, it has a different angle, slightly different angle. For those of you that are familiar with the Revo or e-Revo, either one, right, whether it's the nitro or the electric one, the shocks are straight, so they don't have an angle to follow an arc as these cantilevers here are being compressed. So this one does, which is, it's actually great. The shock bodies are massive compared to these things, these dinky little things. This is what you would have on the Revos. They're about the same length, but just the diameter, there's no contest. I mean, the shaft as well, you can't really see them, but it's a thicker shaft. So there's just more oil capacity, even if everything else is the same. There's more oil capacity on the shocks. There's a different angle here. These here are horizontal. These are actually angled inward for the front, or this way. So it's just a fabulous construction. The arms here for the suspension arms are more durable on these, I think, just because of the sheer size. There's more material. So assuming it's the same quality material they are using, these being more robust, these would be stronger. Anyway, this is just a better vehicle, but it was discontinued, so you can no longer get these. But there's still some out there in the market that people are selling them. So this is a vehicle to consider. The servo that's going to go in this vehicle is going to be this servo right here. I believe he got this servo online, possibly Amazon, but I can't remember. I have never used this servo, but my friend Rod, you can follow him at Rod's Reels RC. He's used these servos successfully, so they must work, and he's a basher. So if they hold up to his deeds, then they must be reliable. That would be my assumption. But this is what's going to go in there, and one of the neat things is it does come with an aluminum servo horn, so that will be installed later on. It does come with all this plastic stuff depending on what it's being used for. Maybe you want to use it for throttle and brake if you had a Traxxas Servo, for example, a 3.3. But that aside, I am going to do a teardown, and I am going to replace that servo. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the wheels. Now this is a larger vehicle, and because it's a larger vehicle, it has larger wheels, so you're looking at 17 millimeter. Now, I'm just going to use my 7 millimeter and call it good. So you have here your ratchet, spanner. This happens to be Kobalt brand. It doesn't really matter for this, you don't need much strength, but usually you can buy these keys that are just cylinders, similar to what you would use in lawnmowers. And it just has a little rod on the other end, so you just kind of grip the cylinder and then twist. But it's just a 17 millimeter. So you just place it, and then the nut should come out, and that is it. It's really just to get it started. After that, you can just do these by hand. But here you go. So it's just a nut There is some, it is serrated lightly here. This is it. So if you have never seen 1/8 scale buggies, this is what 1/8 scale buggies would have. This is the same thing that we are looking at. So for this one, we're going to begin just by removing all of the wheels, and I'm actually going to just loosen all 4 of them. This is way too big of a vehicle for my viewing angle here on this camera, so you will be able to see some of it, not all of it right now. I'm working on this tire. Most of the time I'm going to keep it this way, so hopefully you can see everything. But here we go. Yeah, if at this point, I'm zoomed out as far as I can. I would have to move the camera up. But if I move the camera up, some of the important stuff is going to be out of focus, and that's not what I want. So we'll be doing this and that. And these tires are not belted tires, and you can just feel them. Actually, this one's missing the foam. That has a foam, so this was probably repaired. That's probably why the wheel is painted white, if I had to guess. Front ones were pretty worn. The rear ones have more tread. Maybe friend just did a tire rotation. That's a possibility. If you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you want to do the rotation if you're going to do front to back at shorter intervals. And the reason why is to keep the diameters about the same. If you do not, it may not seem like much, but the tread difference in the tires will make a difference in the diameter when you're running, especially with something like this. See how worn this one is? So that's something to make a note of. Now, my friend knows this was before, but that's the way it goes. So you want to rotate them, not necessarily constantly, but more often than you would with other vehicles. That is it. So the tires are off. At this point, I'm going to start with the front end because that's where I'm interested in going, mainly because it's the servo that I want to do. Now, at some point I will take apart part of the rear, so don't worry about that. Now, one of the things that you want to do here is you want to remove these screws here. Those will free up these arms. So if you ever need to replace these links, you just remove those. And the nice thing is that you don't have to really worry about tension, because once you're here, you're free to release these. You don't have to worry about it being having this spring under compression, else that would be a problem. But I'm just going to be using a 2mm screw. And I just noticed this one was backing out, but it's alright. I'm doing a teardown, so eventually that will be back there. So I'm just going to do this, and at this point, I'm just going to lift a little, and you will feel that that is it. So this is free. So like I said, you don't have to worry about this being in compression. Everything's fine once that is there. I'm going to go ahead and just place this back in there. That way I don't lose it. It's just easier to put the screws there. Alright, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Just going to remove the screw. Now, this one is in slight compression, so I'm just lifting the vehicle enough to remove some of that compression from the damper. There's the spring. There we go. Right, and this is all you do. So at this point, I can just move this over here. So if you ever need to replace these links, that's all you would do. You would just remove these, and then it's just one screw here. But we're going to let that be for now. Now, at this point, we want to remove this lower plate. This is what we want to do. Now, I may be doing, at some point, more steps than required to just remove the servo, but that's because I want to do a teardown. But here we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws that I will be removing. Be mindful of this one. And then these over here use 2.5mm screws. So really, this is it appears to be a two-piece right here, but this has been bashed quite a bit. But you can see and you can feel the line right in here, and I believe that's a 2.5. So let me go ahead and get started with everything that's 2mm for now. And it's these screws right in here. All right. And I'll go ahead and place these there. Let's see if there's a size difference between them. Hopefully not. It's just easier if there isn't. And let's see, so this one here. Wow, there is a size difference there. Here we go. Again, I will be doing everything by hand. If you have power tools, you can use power tools. But if you use power tools to remove the screws, just make sure that you back them out slowly. A mistake that some people do is they back out the screws way too fast, and then you end up stripping things. So don't do that. And over here, you cannot see all the screws, but I am placing them in the general pattern that they would go back in. And these four are the same. This one's different, so not a big deal. If you mix them up, it would be very easy to tell them apart. But here we go. All right. Now something you can use too is you can use a pick to clean out the heads of the screws. That's if they are covered in dirt. Sometimes that happens, especially if they get to run in mud, or dirt for that matter. But let's see, I believe that should be it. This piece should actually be on top of this one, but this happened. Alright, so this looks like I can pry off. I may want to remove this front plate. I'm thinking I do want to, and I'll go ahead and just remove it. See, it looks like this front one is going above this one, but it's so scratched up it's difficult to tell. But now that I removed that back screw, there's this round line, which leads me, oh, those are the same size, so don't have to worry. Here we go. All right, so we have that, and once I remove that piece, I'm just going to place the screws where they would go and just set it down. They're off to the side. All right, so let's see. This looks, oh, I see, so these are just pins. I was expecting a little screw pin in there, but that looks good to me. All right, so at this point, this is one piece, and that's the other. So I'm going to go ahead and just pry this out. And let's see, what do we have? So you need to push the steering down. That's what I'm doing. And let's see. I'm trying not to get my head in there. And this is a separate piece. All right, let's see. All right, I figured it out. So before you do that, you're going to have to pull these out slightly. So you can just grab your pliers, because these need to be lubed. So just pull your pliers. Just have to get them out of my bag, which is behind my chair. Let's see. So let's go ahead. If not, I'll just grab the other pliers. So these pins go into this, so I could lift and pull back, to be honest. I should be able to do that. This is in the way. I want to go ahead and remove this, make my life easier. Sometimes it's better for you to remove more components. Let's see, here we go. All right, so that exposes the motor, transmission. Oh, interesting. I'm going to ask him for a battery. He may not need a servo, to be honest. It looks like this just came loose. He probably just needs a horn. So here we go. So this wasn't steering. I did not get batteries for this, but I'm really curious. I may solder something, but this is loose. So that's something to check. I'm still going to do a teardown, but I'm going to end up checking the servo later on to see if it steers. If it does, there's no point in me replacing with a new one, unless he really wants me to replace the new one. What I would probably recommend is replacing the horn, although it does not appear to be stripped. This probably just got loose. Let me see. Yeah, this is on, well, yeah, the screw was probably just loose after a while. And that might be part of the design. So something I'm probably going to recommend to him, or I may do, is yeah, just to peek through there. I mean, I couldn't see because of the position of the servo, but just check and tighten that. So, well, I'm going to tighten that for him. But if I take this plate here, it should come out. Let me go ahead and remove. Maybe I have to remove the batteries first. This is fun. 2.5. Now, a neat system that this thing has is for the batteries. Although it's probably heavy, but protects the batteries well. Not sure why they chose to do it that way instead of Velcro. Velcro's lighter, except for it's probably to protect the batteries. I mean, they could have just had a thick plastic plate underneath, forget all of this, and then just have some Velcro straps over here. But, hey, you know, it looks really cool. I mean, you can run it without a body if you wanted to, and it would work. Let's see, is that the screw? Yes. All right, so that is removing this. Perfect. So if I pull back, so it's these pins right here that are stuck. All right, not a big deal. Not a big deal. At least I'm saying it's not a big deal. See, this one's off. It's the other one. There we go. All right. See, that's what I was trying to avoid, getting my head in the camera, but just pull on it back and you're fine. So this is your steering assembly right here. Just when you assemble it, make sure these key in. That's an important part. This has to key in here. That's what that long screw is. It just goes in there. But here we go. We've exposed the steering. So now that the steering is exposed, we'll place that plate here, and here you now have access to everything. And right here, be careful, there's these little shims. Oh, no, they're not shims, it's just dirty. Forget about it, you don't have to be careful. I mean, always be careful. But these pins need to be taken out and polished. I will have to clean, oh, man, that one's stuck in there. So that's one thing that you can do now, but the important thing is here, the steering. So now, for the steering, once you have this, the easiest thing to do, I mean, it's tempting to just pull on this, and you can, but it would actually be to remove these links. So remove these links first if you want to remove this section, and then go ahead and remove the link here. So if you were replacing the servo, which more than likely I will not, because I have a feeling this one works. As you can hear, this sounds like it works. It was probably just not steering because this was loose. So I'll go ahead and remove this. But say you want to replace this and you got another aluminum system, which I don't think you need, unless you want to get rid of the servo saver, which is a massive servo saver. But you could remove this. You could remove the links here. I think that's easiest, then everything comes out. Or you could remove the links here and then keep these ends with this over here. It's really up to you. Just because of the limited amount of space that I have, I'm going to go ahead and remove them here. And what's going on? Is that filter or are they smaller? So So I'm just using a smaller driver to clean out the dirt. I think they are just filthy. Because it should be a 2mm driver. Yes, it's a 2mm driver. They were just dirty. So at this point, you would just grab a pick, which I left in the bag, but I don't feel like grabbing right now. And you would just remove these screws. But I'm going to place this here. And I'll go ahead and take this one. Then I'll show you the steering assembly. And that'll be it for this part, and then we'll continue on. There we go. All right, so here we go. So I have the steering bell crank. It's right in here. Do not mix up the orientation, so it goes this way. I mean, you can always grab one of those plates and figure out that these go in the back. But this is it. So at this point, this should be a 17. I'm going to check shortly. No, it's not 17, it's lighter. This is so light, I mean, I can... spinning this with my hand. No, it's actually the wheel that you want to spin, so this little hex isn't doing squat so far, but let me take it apart and then I'll let you know what happens. Yes, indeed. So the hex just has a bearing, so I'm going to be cleaning this later, probably off camera. It just sits on top of this, so I could have pulled this out. I didn't know that until now. And this is what actually threads on, and it threads onto this collar right here. So that is there. And then the bottom piece just slides off once you've removed that. Actually, it would have been before that because that really long screw goes here and then holds everything in place. And that's what the bottom looks like. This is filthy. Which is alright, because that's why I'm taking it apart. And this is keyed here. So there's a rounded part, there's another part that isn't. This should just pop out this end. And as much as I like prying, I'm kidding, I don't like prying things out, especially when it's plastic. I'm just doing this gently, especially I don't want to damage anything. I may just soak this in WD-40 and call it good after I brush the dirt off. Let's see. All right. Oh, I see. So this is another nut as well. That keeps the tension on the screw. So far, there's the screw. This is going to be, it'll be better if I leave them here. All right. So here we go. So you have those two nuts. And here we go. If I'm not speaking, it's because I'm trying to count the turns. All right. There's this one. All right, good stuff. So just remember the orientation. This is the top one. The flat goes in. This is the bottom one. That goes toward the spring. So they go in opposite direction. And the spring should now be free. You would think. Obviously now it's coming out. All right, here we go. And based on what I can see here, this pops out this way. All right, there we go. So this pops out this way. This goes in here. Now that bearing is easy to remove. Hopefully I didn't speak too soon, but you just stick something in there. It should pop out. So I will be cleaning this, and this, and then you just have this little bit. So that's it for the entire Bellcranck. So other than that, I will be showing you how to remove the servo. I cannot believe they're using that. But I will show you on the next one. So other than that, thank you so much for watching.